We're considering an ark that's like the triumphant parasite. So for 200 years, they've wanted to build an ark. There are 57 cities throughout the world that have them. We're the only major city, Washington, D.C., that does it. The circle prior to the bridge, the Arlington Bridge, has been waiting for hundreds of years to have this done. So we have an unbelievable ark that I think will be the most beautiful in the world.
Biggest arc, big arc, huge. Very huge, as we will describe. And look, I love to point out when he lies in his video, but I mean, nobody can dispute he's right. Your entire life, you've been wondering, when are they gonna build the arch? Obviously, for hundreds of years. I've literally never heard anyone say that. By the way, apparently there are lots of them around the world. If you wanted to have some kind of arch, I guess you could do it. And if that was the only thing he was doing, I don't think a lot of people would have problems with it. But when you're wrecking the golf courses there and you took out the East Wing and you put your name on the Kennedy Center, kind of feels like there's a pattern here of this being about you and massive wastes of money. But it is a waste of money and it will be massive. He apparently wants to make it 250 feet tall, which is pretty big. Now, he had considered smaller versions of the arch, including a 165-foot high version, 123-foot high version. And he was like, nah, you know what? I think it should be bigger. First time in his life he's ever said that. And 250 for 250, with our anniversary. That's why we're gonna do it. Weird that this is exactly how the ballroom stuff played out. You keep showing him bigger versions and he keeps saying bigger, bigger, bigger. And so here's the design, which by the way, that's just AI art. That's not how big it's gonna be. You look at the scale of the person, it's gonna be like 5 times bigger than that. And for I guess, global perspective, he shared this. He was super excited about one of these other arches around the world. So he's like, India's beautiful triumphal arch. Ours will be the greatest of them all. And you take a look at that photo and you can look it up. It's pretty big and it commemorates the soldiers of theirs that had died or whatever. That looks really big, right? That looks huge. I mean, that's pretty big. That one is 138 feet tall. Ours will literally be twice as tall as that. And there is no reason. Now look, maybe we can have people from DC weigh in, but it's not a super high city. It is going to overwhelm all of the other monuments and not in a good way. This guy has no taste. He doesn't understand at all how proportion works and how you balance these things. It is going to be so huge and so gaudy and so ridiculous. It's basically him in stone form. What do you think, JR?
Well, that is the plan. By the way, he said, you do possibly remember this time, John, during the campaign when Kamala Harris and Donald Trump were arguing at the debate over who's gonna build the ark that the American people have been wanting for hundreds and hundreds of years. That was the campaign promise that everyone wanted. It was like the #1 campaign promise. That is until Donald Trump came in to talk about how it's all about him. This is just a big triumph to himself. By the way, the last person probably that you heard talk about how they saw someone else's ark and then want to build their own of their own grandeur was this one guy. I can't remember his name. Like maybe his initials were A and H, Adolf. And that's the same guy. If you want to look it up, I talked about this before when he first mentioned this whole thing. Adolf wanted his own larger, more grand ark because he saw, I believe it was France's, and he said, I want a better one because I need to build a monument to my Nazis and my takeover of the world because we need to show how much better we are than everyone else. It didn't get completed because he lost, and in the middle of his plans for this building in this structure, it didn't really come through. But it was one of the #1 things on his mind. You know what? I love how history repeats itself. I'm gonna bank on that happening again. And this guy wanting to have another one of these. By the way, the other part about this, India's, as you mentioned, it commemorates soldiers that died or something. It's weird. Donald Trump is mentioning any soldiers, isn't mentioning anything about Americans, isn't mentioning anything about our history, isn't mentioning nothing about this arc that means nothing, that has zero function outside of another example of his thoughts of making himself bigger than he really is. He's so small and he needs to keep telling people, well, I'm gonna build something that shows I'm big. He's such a small person in every aspect.
100%, yeah. Yeah, Octoscodes had pointed out. Remember when he said, and when he first ran, build that arch, build that arch, like this. And tell me again that he's a populist and he's anti-elite and everything. By the way, I looked it up. The Arc de Triomphe, the main one that people think of in Paris or whatever, is 50% smaller than the one that he wants to build. Obviously, that's probably the thing they punched into ChatGPT. Can I make it 50% bigger than Macron's? That's probably what it is. Also, I just discovered that you can apparently go on top of that one and see like all of Paris around you, and that sounds lovely.